Yeah, for those of you standing the whole time, good for you. It's kind of a marathon. I didn't realize it was going to be that long. And it's funny. It's like you don't know how long a prayer is going to last, but I don't consider it to be a bad thing when so many people have so many things to share. And yet, that still kind of touches on what I'm going to be talking about in just a few seconds here. Perhaps you see the progression of readings that we had today about peace. We started with Jesus, the calming of the storm with the disciples, and the the fear, the anxiety. Yet Jesus was the one that brought peace to that moment. Okay, and He's the one ultimately that brings peace, that can give us peace no matter what's going on in our lives. And then we read from John where Jesus said, "My peace I give to you, my peace I leave to you." And Jesus, the ultimate peace that Jesus really gives us is that whole promise of forgiveness. And then we heard from Philippians, do not be anxious, but lift up your voices to the Lord in prayer, and the peace of God, which surpasses all human understanding, guards your hearts and your minds through faith in Christ Jesus. And what happens is when Jesus is at work and the Holy Spirit is at work in our lives, it produces something. It produces fruit. And this is what you get in Galatians 5:22 through 23. It's the outward motion, I guess, of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. Of course, as we've been very clearly been talking about here, peace is our focus. And I think a good place for us to start when addressing peace. We're going to have 3 questions, as we always do, in your handbook, or handout when you come in. If you have that with you, you can take a look at it. What are you afraid of? Really, the opposite of peace is fear, is anxiety. And I can tell you, when I listen to that question myself, I will say my typical answer is tomorrow. What's next? I was thinking about that prayer, even as I was sitting there. I had Kevin and Bobby next to me, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, and I'm having a hard time just focusing on the moment because I'm thinking about what I got to do next, or what's going to happen next, and we're all our lives are like that. We're always planning for the next thing, and if you find yourself in an emergency situation, or even if you're not, there's always something that's next. And part of our human sinful nature is that we're never content with what we have right now. And that's part of Thanksgiving. And I hope that you had a great Thanksgiving week. I hope you had a chance, I really do, that you had a chance to sit down and just say, thank you. Before Black Friday came, and we're already looking for what's next, right? It's just so funny how it works. And I really mean that when I started us off here at the very beginning, and I said, come on up. The reason why I want to remove all these barriers, because there's so many things that come after us and that just take away our peace, and the world is so good at that. And that's the whole purpose of having chairs up here, no couches, is just to kind of remove barriers, bring us all up here together and say, God offers you, and He offers me peace. What are you afraid of? Anybody want to share anything? I'm not talking about like pouring your soul out, but just in general, what are you afraid of? Not being good enough. Okay. Not being good enough. That's a good one. I'm afraid of that one. Being homeless. Okay. Yeah. Losing loved ones, your kids. Terrorism. It's like fear in the world in general. Yeah. I remember 9/11, when I got on the plane for the first time after 9/11, I started thinking about things I never thought about before. Yeah? Okay. I'm afraid of being able to provide for myself, for others, paying the rent, bills. Talk about what's next. Being alone. That's one of the reasons we have this community, right? So that you don't have to be alone, Yeah.
I just got a text from Brian, and he's lost his voice. And so he's very afraid. He's worried that the cancer is now.
Oh, that they're not going to be able to fix it?
Yeah.
Okay. And that, what Amy just brought up is, Amy's husband, Brian, has cancer. And I still remember the first time I hurt my knee bad playing basketball, and I never thought about it until I didn't have the use of that knee. And these are things, but for me as a young person, it's like, oh, I'm going to get that back. But But you think about some of these real things. I know, like, I know, Kirk, I know your health, and a lot of other people whose health issues, Gary, and then, Brian, it's like, that's scary. That's very scary, right? Real fears. Anybody else? Okay. Isn't it interesting, Charlie, like how a lot of our fears oftentimes come from where we've been too? The images of the things that we've experienced or done or gone through before. It's kind of the thing that drives us forwards and actually can sometimes drive us insane to a certain degree, trying to make sure that doesn't happen again, even if it's not just for us, right? Yeah. And it comes from a place of love, doesn't it? It's not like it's actually a good thing that you don't want that, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Good. So your friends will be okay? Yeah. So many fears. And I want you to think about this. If you haven't shared yourself, think about this yourself. What are you afraid of today? Yeah. Yeah. What peace does God offer us? What peace? So if the opposite of peace is fear, what is the peace that God offers? A couple things I'll just share really quickly. Peace, I would say, essentially is the assurance that God's got things in hand. That's really what it boils down to, is peace. The peace that God offers, and that's what Jesus said to his disciples. It's all good. What are you afraid of? I had this in hand all along. You just didn't believe that I actually did. But whether you believe it or not, it doesn't change the fact that it's true. Okay? So he's got it under control. And even even if things are spiraling out of control, and that's like in the case of like Brian as an extreme, where what's this cancer gonna do to me? It's like the peace of Jesus is ultimately that God still has it in hand, right? It's hard to say that it's true. In the Hebrew, this is actually important to note. The word peace, Hebrew word you're probably familiar with is shalom, okay? The Greek word is irene. These are two words that are used in the Bible, okay? And they basically mean completeness or wholeness, not like absence of war. So that's the idea, is God gives me, like, it's all under control. Everything, it's going to be okay when we set our eyes on Him. But when we set our eyes only on the things of this world, that's when we start to panic, okay? So think about your own fears. What are you afraid of? And how does Jesus speak to you in that? And really, Jesus speaks to all of us and offers us peace through the cross. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Do you see? I really screwed up in the past, or Jim shared that earlier, some of the struggles, right, Jim? That, the regrets and some of these things that like hamper us. Well, how does the cross speak peace? It says, you're forgiven. You are not defined by what you've done or what you have not done. And that's not saying those things are good. It's saying that my work covers up your lack of work, okay? And today's brand new beginning. That's what we talk about. That's the peace that God offers. The peace in our life, the peace that Jesus offers us, helps us to see ourselves right now, standing right now in this room in a completely different way. What's going to happen to my kids? What's going to happen to my health? What's going to happen to all these other things? Money, all that. Jesus says, I'm with you in the boat. It's going to be okay. If you don't trust me, look at what I was willing to do for you. It's going to be okay. And what I want you to think about is this then. What fruit does God's peace produce in our life? So I read that the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness. What fruit does it produce? What kind of attitude does that produce in our lives? Because Jesus' peace isn't just something like, make me feel good. Oh, that feels great now. And now I can go out and live like chaos. Woo! Bust out those doors after Genesis. I'm ready to live a chaotic life. Woo! Let's go for it. Come on now. Is that what this is all about? For us to have a quiet time so that we can, kind of like my boys, quiet time so then we can go and run, run a couple walls, wrestle. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Is that what this is all about? No. The peace that God offers, Jesus says, I am the vine, you're the branches, and through him we produce fruit. And so the idea is that when the gospel and the good news of Jesus and his peace comes to me through the cross, when it has an impact on my life, it actually flows in and through me in my relationship with other people. And so understand this. Being a peaceful person is not about being apathetic. It's not like, I got bills, but whatever. That's not what it's about, okay? Those are real things you got to take care of. It's like looking at them, seeing them as problems, but understanding that at the end of the day, God still has it all in hand. And taking things as they come, looking at them, assessing the problem, doing what you can, what's in your control, but recognizing at the end of the day who has it ultimately all under control. Jesus does. And so, have you ever run into people like that? Yes? I would say a lot of, like, the people I always thought my dad was kind of had that fruit, because he was just a guy that you'd have, like, everybody running around in the house, like, if you were freaking out, and my dad would be the one kind of sitting there going, okay, let's think about this, What's wrong with you? There's things going on here. You got to take care of them, But for him, I mean, he had a relationship with Jesus, and for him, he had others. We all have struggles. He wasn't perfect, but when you could sense that he tried to look at things in a different way, and that's what Jesus affords us the opportunity to do. Think of the thing that you're afraid of. Listen to how the peace that Jesus speaks to that fear through the cross. And then that peace flows in and through you, and people start to notice. And this is one last thought I'm going to leave you with tonight. As people see the peace of Jesus in you, you'll be amazed to discover that you'll start to see peace in other people as well. It's kind of contagious. The fruits are contagious. So peace. The anxiety, what, Tim? Must be. It is. Both and. The anxiety and the peace. And so today, let Jesus' peace rest on you and through you.